Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, let's go. We've got the new SPLIGHT archetype revealed from last night. It has a lot of cool things going on here. Everything, all the monsters in the deck are really cool extenders. A couple of them even have negates on the field immediately. A couple of them are just +1, searching another monster or spell or trap in the archetype. I really like the start here. The one thing I would say, though, is there's no normal summon. They do work generically with any level, rank, or link to monsters in the game, and so pretty much today we're going through all of like the generic options I think could actually work as far as synergizing with this deck, because it definitely feels like it's not fully there by itself. I don't think you could play this 100% pure. You need to splash in some other cards to allow the deck to work. So ideally you want to be able to put a level 2 monster on the field to open up all of their extending effects from hand, and also level 2 helps you make the rank 4 or rank 2 as well as the link 2, and those are the main synergies we're worried about today. Okay, here we go. Let's get into this. We're going to go through a lot of cards. So first off, Battle Wasp, Sting the Poison. This card is technically a negate. Even though the monster you're searching isn't a level 2, this card is a 1-card Hulk. Searches a negate. It's a level 2 even if it gets negated. So all in all, I think this is like potentially actually a pretty good one. But we'll see. From there, Cap Shell. If this card's tributed, used as fusion synchro or link material, or detached from an Exceed monster to activate its effects, you draw 1 card. So a couple different ways for this guy to just be an easy level 2 normal summon and then just get you a draw. Plus we have ways to just summon this back every turn if we want. So pretty interesting. Next up, Crimson Resonator. If you control a monster, you can just special summon this from the hand. It is then a tuner on field. That's really the main reason. I wouldn't have really loved this card if it wasn't a tuner. But I guess that's nice. And level 2, of course. Cyber Dragon Core is really interesting. This becomes a really powerful normal summon. Kind of gives you longevity if you want to play like a decent little Cyber Dragon engine to be able to rotate around. You can play triple of this, triple Cyber Emergency for consistency. And it's just a +1. Also gives you the ability of like extra removal with like the Chimera Tech monsters. So I think this is pretty cool for sure. I think this one actually is kind of useful. From there, CYBER-STEIN. This card is at 1 on the ban list. That's really the biggest downside of this, I would say, is yes, this card is powerful. Yes, you could just play this and like turbo something out like Berserkion. But it's only at 1, and there's like no real way to search it in a deck like this, like super consistently. You can theoretically get it off of the Exceed monster, but you have to be able to set that up already. So interesting. Deep Sea Diva. This one may be one of the prime ones, because whereas Sting the Poison offers some other things, like it offers its negate effect and all that as bonus, but Deep Sea Diva is still a 1-card Hulk, and it can summon a second Diva. So you can actually go Diva into Diva, which gives you 2 level 2s on field. That gives you an extra bonus there, and I definitely think that could be an option. They're also tuners, so still makes the Hulk and all that stuff. So very, very interesting card. I think Deep Sea Diva is one of the higher considerations for me. GALE DOGRA. You just have to pay so many life points with this card, but it can get you some solid pluses. So, okay. GOUKIs. I don't think GOUKIs are that good, because like we have other options here that just draw us any card. So actually get any other card in our deck. But the GOUKIs search another GOUKI specifically. Unfortunately, the only reborn they have can only reborn while you have 2 GOUKIs engraved, and so you'd have to search a GOUKI, find a way to get that second GOUKI also engraved, and do it in a way where you can put it on field so you can search rematch as well. I think that's just a little bit too much to ask for, but it is still pluses. EAR Squadron, not only a level 2, but a level 2 that can give you a quick synchro. So if we do end up playing a synchro version that leans on Hulk at times, maybe you go down a synchro route, you end on some synchro monsters, and then you end with EAR Squadron, because this is one of the best search targets off of Cupid Pitch for free. This card can jump on the board and give us a quick synchro on the opponent's turn to just double up on disruption. It's pretty cool. Hyperia. This one's really interesting to me. This is another one where, like, if all we really need is a normal summonable level 2, this card is just a raw +1, and it means if we want to play a variant that's more mid-range, we're playing a good amount of hand traps, playing stuff like Cosmic Cyclones, just a lot of those utility cards you also want to draw to, like, help handle boards, this guy becomes immensely better because he's just either finding us an extender from the splint side of things, or he could just be finding us any of those utility cards, giving us another hand trap for the hand, giving us a Cosmic Cyclone to help us handle back row. And I really like that. I think it's really cool. Definitely a cool card to look at here. And also the fact that the deck has the Link 2 that can revive any level 2 in the deck or in the game. You could just summon this guy out, draw a card, like on the end of the opponent's turn. It's pretty cool. Knightmare Corruptorible, another interesting one. Whereas most of these options are actually +1s in a way, this card is not a +1, but it can give your opponent a lock. A lot of decks just can't even beat an Ibly lock, but it has to be the right Ibly lock. The problem here, I would say, is that if you play Ibly, I think you have to play a Banelinx in the extra deck, and you have to play a Salamangreat Sanctuary, so that your opponent can't just attack into you. Or I guess theoretically you could just end on a board of all defense position monsters and not worry about that. But then you're potentially ending on in a weaker position just because everything's in defense. But still, Ibly is something to consider. The deck does have a way to summon any level 2 straight out of the deck, so it's lookable. It's interesting. Next up, we have the Live Twins, Kiss-a-Kill and Lilla, just being one card, again, kind of like the Deep Sea Diva, one card, 2 level 2s on the field, and you could even play some of their Link 2s. The deck has synergy with Link 2s in general, but the problem is once you use the Link 2's effects, I believe, they actually lock you into Fiends for the rest of the turn. And I think, is it Fiends just from extra deck, though? I think they might just be Fiends from extra deck. So you could still potentially end on the Splint monsters that have their negates on field because they are from the main deck. So there's definitely something there. You could potentially just like lean on this as a secondary engine, and it could be pretty self-sufficient. You probably wouldn't be able to lean on the Link 4 as much, but just relying on the Link 2s does give you another avenue of value and recursion, getting you those extra draws, because this deck, one thing I will say is it doesn't seem to have a lot of recursion to it. So very cool. PLAGUESPREADER, this is something that could be a Hulk target, but also it's a normal summonable level 2 tuner that once it goes to grave, it can just, by getting rid of a card in hand, come back to the field. So it can represent 2 level 2s on the field. Interesting. Mutant M05, this is the only level 2 mutant, but it also searches any mutant monsters. So you can search like the other new extender. It's not level 2, but it is an extender. And it's a psychic, so you could just play E-Telly as well, giving you access to a couple of other good extenders that still plus you. This could be an interesting one, for sure. I just don't know how much value you really get off of like the mutant stuff, like actually trying to go down mutant lines. I just don't think that really is a great option. Ret-Time Reviver Emitter, really interesting card. If it's in hand or grave, it can target a monster on each field, flip them both down, and then summon it. And it's a tuner. So this card's pretty interesting, but it is still reliant on your opponent having something, so turn 1, it's not ideal. Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. This card, in theory, looks cool, but the fact that normally his play line is search Spellbook of Secrets, Secrets, search, Knowledge, and then Knowledge send this card to draw 2. Now, you could have this card on field to be able to extend all your splints, but this card in and of itself is just kind of a draw engine and nothing more. Not really an extender in any way, aside from hopefully drawing more extenders. So just kind of iffy. Soldier Dragons, funny card. When your opponent activates any card or effect, you can summon a level 2 or lower dragon from the deck. It does not negate them or anything. This card's pretty interesting, and he's level 2. So theoretically, you could find another level 2 that's like decent, and that could be an interesting little package. But again, it relies on your opponent activating stuff to make it really get you value. So, meh. Agent of Mystery Earth, 1 card Hulk. Searches the new agent monster when he comes out, hopefully, and goes from the past 2. It's fine. It's just like another 1 card Hulk. It's a level 2, fine. TG Striker kind of falls into that red resonator category. Wind Up Kitten is something really funny. It's particularly a going second card, but it says once while this card is face up on the field, you can target a monster your opponent controls and return that target to the hand. I wonder if a card like this could potentially just be a one-of, because it is summonable just straight out of the deck off of like the Exceed monster, and then this card just goes bounce a monster, then use this for either a link to tribute for one of the negates or an Exceed, and then from grave later on, the Link 2 in the deck just gives you a free quick effect monster reborn for any wind up, or any level 2. So you could just reborn this on the opponent's turn and then just use the effect again, over and over again. Kind of interesting. Maybe as a one-of, just because it is technically accessible generically from the deck, as just like a really easy, accessible removal card. I think this one's kind of funny, for sure. All right, then we get to the extra deck. This is all just going to be a bunch of generic Link 2s that you have to consider, because that's really going to be the deck's sweet spot. It has the best synergy with Link 2s and Rank 2s, so let's zoom through those. Dagda, obviously, I don't expect this to be around banless-wise by the time, but if it is, cool. Hulk, of course, we've already looked at a bunch of tuner options, so Hulk could definitely be a thing. Dark the Dark Charmer. 3 of our 5 main deck monsters are dark monsters, and they jump on the field really easily, so Dark could be easily abusable. Evil Twin, Kissy Kill, and Lilla. If you decide to go that route, I think that route actually might be really good. So we'll have to see for sure. They just give you another backbone. Like, that engine by itself is a 1-card engine that can get you an interruption, even if the Splint stuff, or the SPLIGHT, I call them Splint, SPLIGHT stuff, ends up getting turned off. You draw a hand that's just mainly that stuff and not enough SPLIGHT stuff to really play on that side of the engine. And I kind of like that. I like that it can be a self-sufficient engine, and it draws you cards. It gives you more follow-up than the SPLIGHTs do. Hita, the other 2 SPLIGHT monsters, are fire, so this is another thing to consider. IP Masquerena, I like this because if you 1, it gives you another interruption to end on, but 2, it also gives you protection if you can link this into something else. That is pretty cool, just to get you into some extra interruption, but also protected. Nightmare Phoenix, whatever, generic Link 2. Verte Anaconda, again, I question whether this will be around. I do think the branded stuff coming out makes this kind of want to be around for one more format, but I wouldn't be surprised if Konami just nips it in the bud now. We'll see. Some Summoner. This card is actually good. Pairing this with the other Link 2 in the archetype is really cool, because that one can reborn potentially the monster negate. This one can reborn the spell and trap negate, or any of the others, because like you have the 2 negate guys, and then you also have the other 2 that, when they're just special generically, search you another resource. So whether it's a monster or a spell or trap, that has value in and of itself. So potentially ending on both of those is pretty sweet. He does take Thunders, so he does kind of need, as we went through, there's not a ton of great Thunder cards you play with the archetype. Thunder Dragons sound great in a vacuum, but unfortunately, because Thunder Dragons don't really use any level 2 stuff, the synergy is not as good as you might think. So you do kind of need to use 2 SPLIGHT monsters to make this, generally. But it's pretty good, Quick Reborn is not bad, and also he's a Link 2, so if you reborn the monster or the spell and trap negate, he is tributable to get the negate and destroy for those effects. It's really sweet. Lambda, if you want to play a card like Gamma, the fact that the deck turns into Link 2s pretty easily does make it so that you can make Gamma, even if you can't activate it early and you have to play. You could still make it live. And Gamma's a level 2 when he jumps on the field, so don't forget about that. Sky Cavalry Centauria, also really good. This kind of facilitates Zeus if you want, and it's just really good removal, non-targeting, non-destruction removal. Pretty cool. There, speaking of which, Zeus, I think the only card, now while this deck has really good synergy with level, rank, and Link 2s, the only card that actually locks you into those is, I think, the one spell that's like E-Telly for the deck. If you don't have to use that, or if you don't play that card, just so you can play other options, Zeus becomes very, very easy to do, especially with Centauria. Centauria just says, while as material can't be destroyed by battle, so it doesn't even have to activate to do its battle and survive it, guaranteed. So then you can make Zeus, and then you can go to town, or even play Downard as well, because they would be rank 2 or lower, or rank 3 or lower. So you can go into a format Zeus and be able to resolve him twice. Pretty cool. Phantom Knight's Cursed Javelin. It's an interesting card. It like targets a card on a monster on the field, makes it 0, and negates its effect while it's on the field. It's an interesting card, but it's not crazy. ONIRIMARU Soul Sweeper is a little more interesting. He can just target a monster your opponent controls and banish it until their next end phase. It's pretty nice. And if this card's ever destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target banished monsters up to the number of materials this card had and shuffle them into the deck. So that means if you banish something and before your opponent got it back, they went after this card and destroyed it, you would then be able to get rid of their monster. Pretty nice. Djinn Buster. This card's just straight up a monster negate. During the ability's turn, when effective, an opponent's monster is activated, detach 2 from this card. Negate the activation. If you do, inflict 500 to your opponent. It doesn't negate and destroy, and it's really, really small. 1300 attack, 0 defense. That's going to be the biggest problem for this card, is that a lot of decks are just going to walk over this without even having to play with the negate. But theoretically, it's interesting. It is also, it only takes 2 dark monsters, 2 level 2 dark, so you do have to use the 3 dark cards from the deck as well. Or I think Ezekiel and Lillah are dark, aren't they? They might be. I can't remember. This guy. Oh my god, what's his name? His name is like Cursed Pebbles or something. He's cool. Once returned attached material, target another face-up monster or card on the field. While this card's face up, that target's effects are negated. Okay, so a slow negate. While that target is on the field, cards with the same name as that target and their effects cannot be activated. So at least while he's negating something that's face up, they cannot even attempt to use another copy of that card with the same name. It's pretty interesting. Cool card, and he's also 2200. It's pretty big. Mannequin Cat. This lets us revive something from our opponent's graveyard. Okay, hold on. Target. All right, it's a really weird card. Detach a material, then target a monster in your opponent's grave. Summon it to your opponent's field. Then, if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field while you control this monster, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and summon a monster with the same type or attribute straight from your hand or deck. So you give an opponent a monster back from their grave and then potentially summon something with the same type or attribute. These guys are dark, so potentially reviving something. Dark's really common. As long as you revive something that's not too good for your opponent, it's just kind of just a dead body there. Cool. And then you can summon one of your searcher guys straight from the deck and be able to keep extending. She's also 2000. She can walk over a good amount of stuff, so she's not terrible, actually. Herald of Pure Light. Detach a material, add a target a monster in grave, add it to hand, then shuffle 1 card from your hand back into the deck. That's not bad. Like, honestly, it's not, I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad for sure. And the last card here, the only spell and trap I really find that felt like too crazy with this deck is Recycling Batteries. Just target 2 monsters, 2 Thunders with 1500 or less attack in your grave, add them to your hand. That is every single SPLIGHT monster. All 5 of them are 1500 or less attack. So this card's pretty cool. But again, they're all once per turn to extend from hand. So this is definitely more of a follow-up card than an actual extender. But, you know, there's worse things in the world. So there you go. I think those are really all the cards that I found that like actually have good potential in the deck. Feel free to let me know if there's anything I missed here that's definitely considerable. I really cannot wait to see what people come up with. I think Live Twin SPLIGHT might be the move, but we'll have to see. I mean, we really have to go in and see where we're at with everything. But very, very cool. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if there's any other cards that have like really good synergy with the deck and definitely should be looked at more that I might have missed today. Sorry if this video is long. I literally had 43 cards to go through or something. It was insane. So yeah, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on splites and splashable cards, and I will see you in the next video. Peace!